Now it's my honor and my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, who's Chris Coker. I suspect most everybody who's looking in today knows Chris, or certainly knows of him. He's CEO of the YMCA of Northern Colorado and one of the leaders of the Boulder nonprofit community. We're proud to say that Chris is also a Boulder Rotarian and a member of our board of directors. As we all know, youth is one of the primary focuses of Boulder Rotary, particularly the youth in our own community. And today, Chris is going to talk to us about Lead Colorado, a program to provide selected high school students with leadership skills to be part of the next generation of leaders in our community. Chris, please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish we were all together. I miss seeing all of you guys. And John, I'm glad that Lena let you be in the screen now, because it seemed at first like she was just pushing you aside a little bit there. So Lena, good job for inclusiveness. Screen equity. Lead Colorado. Lead Colorado is a program that is 6 or 7 years old now, and I wanted to take some time to tell you about it. So Cassidy, how do we want to proceed?
Are you seeing the Lead Colorado slide on your screen?
Yes, we are. We are good to go.
So Chris and I are just going to chat about Lead Colorado today. And we've heard a little bit about the program. So the next question, of course, is how did it start? How did it happen?
And Cassidy is involved. Cassidy's on our committee that runs the Lead Colorado program. She as well as 5 or 6 other people are on kind of a steering committee that helps to set it. But let me go back to where it all started. What happened is one day I was in my kitchen and my son was there. He's 26 now, right? So he's grown and out of the house. This is when he was in high school. But he was there, and he was he was president of the National Honor Society, and his girlfriend was at Centaurus High School. They have head boy, head girl, right? It's kind of a throwback to private school stuff. But basically, that's student council president, vice president. And so those 2 kids were there, as well as someone else who was Fellowship of Christian Athletes or one of those types of organizations. And they were having a debate around where prom should be, where high school prom should be held. And I was doing something in the kitchen, and I said to them, don't you guys, haven't you surveyed? Haven't you talked to your constituents? Don't you, what does everybody want? What's kind of the consensus? And they said, well, what are you talking about? So what I came to realize is that even though they were given these leadership positions that had some authority and decision-making powers, there was zero backup on training for it. So I asked them what training did they have. They said, well, they trained us as to what our budget was and how to submit expenses. Okay, so then that led down the path of what is available. And we have RILA in the community, and that was like gold standard stuff going on there. But what we didn't have was a multi-year program. So I had a CU internship, I had a CU intern that came in and did studies of all the youth leadership programs in the area. And we realized there's just not any really good ones. There's not any that are in depth. There's not that advance their leadership capabilities. There's trainings that are a half a day or a weekend or a week maybe, but nothing with any longevity to it. So that's when we decided what to do. And why leadership, why the why is a question that the why I felt was the right agency to work with in this space, right? Nobody ever asked the why, what is your adult programs? But they always say, what's your youth and teen programs? And teens and adults have are similar in that they have very diverse tastes and ideas and thoughts and hobbies. And the community prepares for that. We used to have kind of this potpourri teen program where we had pottery and photography and dance and drama and things like that. And it served tens of children. So we realized that, okay, that's being taken care of. So why try and deal with a situation that's already dealt with? But leadership, there is a lack of leadership training. And so that is where we decided that we were going to program and build something. So next slide.
You got it.
So who do you partner with if you want to create kind of a leadership thing going on? And we decided that it was the YMCA, Boulder Valley School District, and the University of Colorado. The Y can be the convener, and we know a ton of people, right? And CU has, with the President's Leadership class, remember you guys, Aaron Roof? Remember Aaron Roof? He came and did a presentation for us year before, right? We forget last year because nothing happened, right? But the year before, Aaron came in and did that great presentation for us. And he's one of our committee members. And before he ran the PLC, it was Steve Dinauer. And Sandy Bracken is actually the person that first represented CU on this little leadership committee, along with Mark Schaefer and Bruce Messenger. So that was the CU side, was Sandy Bracken and Steve Dinauer. And then from BVSD was Bruce Messenger and I'm trying to remember his name now, but he's now the superintendent up in Thompson, and the Y. So we pulled that group together, and we felt we had access, we had organization, and we had knowledge.
So then the next question is, what is the program itself? Like, what does it look like?
The program itself is what we call a laddered learning model, right? So we had PLC, we had Aaron Roof, but we also have a lady named Dr. Kira Pasquesi. Kira Pasquesi is a CU professor, and she's in charge of the leadership programs at the undergraduate level, the leadership programs that are not PLC. And there's actually a whole minor in leadership now over at CU. And so she's in charge of that. So we created this, and we'll go into what the program looks like, kind of what some of the things are that we taught and did for the kids, and some of the classes we have coming up. But basically what we decided is that for 18 months, and it was 2 years, it was 24 months, but we found that senioritis sets in hard in that second semester of senior year. And these kids are so busy that their interest kind of wanes. So we decided that for the seniors, it ends in that first semester. That's the end of it. And we're going to see a project, a concluding project in here from one of the kids. We have a little video of it. And that 18 months is critical because it's a longevity. Those are huge growth years in that junior and senior year. Like I said, it starts with sophomores. So if any of you know kids that are sophomores right now, please encourage them to sign up for this program. We can take about 36 kids into the program, up to 40 probably is fine. But what happens is that then they start junior year right away with a retreat, and we'll talk about the retreat coming up too. But then we've also figured, what is that growth model? What is that learning model behind it that creates the rigor of scholastic learning? And in fact, we created such a good program that MSU will give these kids 3 credits for graduating successfully from this program, which I think is a testament to what Dr. Pasquesi and Aaron and the rest of the committee put into this as it teaches kids about leadership models over that amount of time.
And Chris, you're trying to get students from each of the high schools in Boulder Valley School District, is that right?
Yeah, that's the goal. And it's so difficult right now because we're scattered. Now, Rob Anderson spoke to the kids the other day, and he's going to try and make sure that counselors from each high school do it. But what happens is the kids recruit each other, right? So sometimes we'll have a disproportionate amount from one school or another in there, but we want kids from every single high school because we felt like, for example, this last group of kids, cohort 5, they know each other's birthdays and they deliver surprise bags to their house. Like they doorbell ditch them with birthday bags from the kids, even though they're from all different high schools. So I know that they drove up to like Netherlands to deliver them to some of the kids from the high schools there. And this is all on their own. We had nothing to do with this. They're like a little gang of their own right now, which is exactly what we want.
That's pretty awesome. So I've been involved with the program as a community member for the last maybe 3 or 4 years. And one of the words that comes up a lot is values, over and over again. And I just want to ask you, why is that the values portion of this program so important?
These are young people. These are young people who are trying to find out who they are right now. And so we think that them understanding what their personal values and mission in life is, who they are. The part of being a good and a strong leader is understanding who you are and what the boundaries are, what the red lines are. So I remember, I don't know who said this, but if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I think that that's an incredibly appropriate statement. So what do you stand for? Where can you back up and say, no, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. Or, yeah, I'm okay with that, but not this. So values are of critical importance, and you'll see them weave their way through. Now, we don't tell them what the values are, right? That's not our business. Our business is not to say, here's your exact value set. We're not a church. We're trying to help people, young kids, decide who they are. So this slide right here, this is Jay Orris. He was one of the founding members of this program, and he's still with us, but he does a lot of work with Aspen Institute, and they have this unbelievable program where they take these cards, these little cards that are the size of business cards, and there's like 60 some odd of them, and they have values written on them, like friendship, family, love, honesty, caring, respect, identity. You know, there's 60 of them. And they go through an exercise where the kids sort through them and they pick like 20. Say, pick the 20 that speak to you most. All right, now narrow it down to 15, then 12. Then they boil it down to 6. And they put them into a pyramid. And out of that 6, they have to write a personal values statement. This is my value statement. And we revisit that statement twice during the program. Once when they do it initially, and then once again their senior year. And we see if there's any change or growth from it. But what this does is they then have a personal mission / values statement that they can say, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. You expect that to grow over time. But according to the Aspen Institute and some of the research they've done, it stays surprisingly similar throughout somebody's life unless there is a major traumatic life event. Then it can change. But basically, apparently, according to the longitudinal study, it stays pretty consistent throughout their lifetime. But giving them a head start, giving them an initial look at it, I think is invaluable. And Cassie, didn't we find a couple of those statements?
Yeah, by pure chance we did. So the first one is from Junior. So that's like the very first part. And the other one is from a senior. And when I look at these, I am blown away by how reflective they are towards the individuals who wrote them.
And what we do is there's this, after we do this exercise, we get washers, right? Like little washers. And we have a pin set. And they go down and we go into a different room after they've completed their thing. And what is your number one value? And so this one on the left, it's community. And the one on the right is open-mindedness. They go and they stamp into that washer that key word, their number one value. And then we have lanyards, so it can be a necklace, it could be a bracelet, it could be a keychain, and we say, keep this with you and just use it as a little touchstone as to what your number one value is in your life.
That is a great, that's a great memento. And as we all know, those little things can mean a lot to us as we go through life. Speaking of going through the program, the next slide is Joe Pelly. And we have him under value-based leadership. What leadership tools does Sheriff Pelly bring when he is talking to these students?
Right. So Joe comes in and does a session for us. And I saw in the chat that there was a question around how much time commitment. It's one Monday night a month. I think it's usually the first Monday night out of the month. And it's a couple, 2-3 hours, depending on what the activity is. It usually stays around 2 hours. And so we bring in these great speakers or activities for them. And Joe Pelly comes very quickly after this values exercise. And he comes in because what he does is he talks about value-based policing, right? How many times do we ever see Joe's guys and gals in the newspaper for behavior that's on the edge, for lack of a better term? And the answer is almost never. That's leadership, and that comes from the top, because Joe believes in value-based community work, values-based policing. So he says to his guys, he says this to the kids, right? He asked me permission. He said, can I swear in front of the children? I said, well, what are you going to say? And he said, I'm going to say the word chicken shit. And I said, yes, you can say that. He does not allow his guys to write chicken shit tickets, like jaywalking or riding your bike the wrong way through the intersection, that stuff. He says, that's just ridiculous. That's not what the community expects from me. I expect my guys to deal with real issues, to be incredibly honest. He says, my guys mess up, right? Because they're dealing with the human condition. And the human condition is very messy. And you cannot have a policy that fully fits within the human condition and what people throw in front of you. So you've got to have a big box to act in, but there's still a box. And he said, if my guys mess up and they're honest about it, I can deal with that. If they're dishonest about it, I can't deal with that. And so he will fire people accordingly. So, and he talks about a couple of really horrible staffing HR decisions he's had to make as a sheriff around his guys. And the kids are you know, they get lessons from Joe about that stuff. And it's eye-opening. It's just eye-opening for the kids to meet a guy like Sheriff Pelly, who is so beloved by the community that they voted to not term limit him, to give him an extra term.
Amazing. It's not just speakers that you have though, right? You do activities, is that right?
Yes, yeah, we do activities. So a huge thing about leaders is they have to know when to be followers. And high school kids like activities, right? Let's go do an activity. It's like that movie Step Brothers. Oh, look, we have so many room for activities now. So we do stuff with them that's not always sit and get. Mark Schaefer from BVSD said, hey, they can't be sit and get all the time. It has to be other stuff. So we do an escape room, and we usually go to the Rabbit Hole Escape Room in Louisville. And because they have enough rooms that we can take the whole group at once and they can go in and then we can debrief afterwards. And what we're doing is talking about followership. Strong leaders have to know when to follow. And this is a great object lesson for them to learn about followership, because you can't get out of that room unless you're willing to follow also and kind of sublimate your leadership needs to the group.
Well, you also mentioned earlier that there's a retreat aspect to the program, and
Right.
we're looking at Camp Santa Maria, which did not happen this year. Is that right? This was not.
No.
Yeah.
Camp Santa Maria didn't happen for summer camp for the Y or for the Lead Colorado kids. So hopefully this summer it'll be open and we can take the Lead kids up there. Camp Santa Maria is the Y's resident camp, the YMCA of Northern Colorado's resident camp. It's up in Bailey, Colorado. As you're heading up 285 towards South Park, you see it there on the right. And you can just barely see in the picture at the top of that hill. I'm pointing to it like you can see it. There's this little white thing. That's a giant Jesus statue. This was for years a Catholic Charities camp that the Dower Benevolent Trust has and turned over for the Y to use about 14, 15 years ago. So we haven't had this camp forever, but we've now had it for a long time. And it's a beautiful piece of property. It's 1,000 acres surrounded by national forest. But we take the kids there to team build, right? We take them there to team build and to do activities so that they can get to know each other. What we all know what we're missing here by not being in the same room with each other. We're missing the, hey, how are you? How's your family? It's like somebody asked Daryl earlier, how's your dad, Daryl? How's he doing? I know he's having a hard time. That doesn't happen always when we're in this format. This format is great for just information exchange, for quick staff meetings, wonderful aspects, so efficient, terrible for team building. And so we have to take these kids away because it puts them into a group setting, and we do work projects and we do low ropes course activities and team building, and they swim and they boat, and we do archery and we make s'mores and campfire skits and all that stuff that pulls them into a team. We found that the other cohorts are closer than this cohort that hasn't had this retreat yet. So it definitely works in some manner. We also do with them emergenetics. At this retreat, before they go up there, they do a program called emergenetics, and it's a profile inventory. So for the first time as juniors in high school, they're getting a personality profile inventory and seeing for the first time, having a shot at who they are, what their inventory looks like, and it's an eye-opening experience for them.
So Congressman Joe Neguse has agreed to come talk to the students next month.
Mm-hmm.
What is he going to talk to them about?
So another example of a great leader, somebody who I think we can all respect. Joe Neguse is a pretty moderate Democrat. And so he appeals across the aisle. And he is leading during a very difficult time. Maybe a little less across the aisle since he was one of the impeachment managers, but he is able to reach across the aisle, which a number of our representatives don't want to do and don't do. And so Joe is going to talk about leadership during turbulent times with the kids, and how do you deal with people who you completely disagree with, but you have to find consensus building around. And he's doing this one face-to-face. So this will be our first face-to-face that we've had since our hybrid retreat. Instead of going to Camp Santa Maria, we spent a day at the Y and did it socially distanced. It was nice enough weather, so we had it out by the pool and we're able to do that. This one we'll do in the big gym setting, and we're inviting back the cohort that just graduated. We're going to invite them to come back for this one. Because it's, you don't get to meet your sitting congressman often in high school.
Speaking of politicians, you also had Governor Polis come to speak to the kids as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't say kids because they are students and scholars. What did he talk to them about? What did they take from that experience?
Right. We had the governor come right after the election. And he came and spoke about misinformation, of that these kids are growing up unlike all of us, right? We didn't grow up in this digital age. I'm aging myself. Remember, Walter Cronkite would come in and say, and that's the way it is, you know, June 12th, 1976. And we would all say, okay, I guess that's the way it is. But he would just read the news, right? It was just the news. There wasn't, I don't recall there being a big slant to it. There may have been. I was young. But the point is that there was only 3 or 4 areas where we could pull our information from. Now at this point, there is 10 million places we can pull our information from. And how well is it fact checked? So we have to become our own fact checkers, because we see what's happened in this country is you'll have 2 sides say, this is a fact. And they seem to be completely opposite facts from one another about the same thing. And so Governor Polis came in and spoke to the kids of, okay, kids, how are you going to wade through all of this information moving forward so that you can be your own person and make your own leadership decisions around it? Here's how I do it. Here's how I make my staff do it. Here's how I gather information so I try and be on the right side of something. Oh, and Marty made a really good point. One of the things I forgot to mention is that CU provides mentors for these kids. Part of what Aaron brings in is a handful of these kids have mentors, and we break them down into small groups with a CU mentor, so that when you have small group discussions, one of the PLC kids from CU is the facilitator for those discussions, right? They're a lot closer in age. They've experienced what these kids have experienced, and we feel that it's a much more relatable leadership person to work with. And then we work with the mentors on what's going to be discussed, and then the mentors work with the kids.
Yeah, good point. So leadership is the focus. And the next slide that I'm showing shows Rob Anderson, Neil Denton, who is a high-level policy and lobbyist for the YMCA, and Rebecca Noviger, who is, I think, the CEO of Imagine. Is she the executive director or CEO of Imagine?
Right.
And the screen is labeled leadership styles. So my question is, when you're choosing people, leaders who are going to come and speak to this cohort, the students, what are you thinking about? What do you hope to convey to them when you have speakers in of whatever stripe, whatever they are doing in the world?
Right. Now, these were 3 very matched speakers because Rob is our superintendent, right? We all understand basically what the superintendent does. Neil Denton has been in DC, he is the National YMCA's policy and lobbying director for the YMCA, all the YMCAs across the country. And before that, he did that same job for the Red Cross. And we all know Rebecca Novinger runs Imagine. And most of us understand that Imagine works with people in our community that have special needs. And so they were talking about what is their leadership style? How do they lead? What leadership issues have they found? So they all did a big introduction, and then we broke the group down into 3 separate chat rooms, and the speakers rotated through the 3 chat rooms so that the students would have more kind of 4-on-1, 5-on-1, time with these speakers, and to hear what their leadership journey was and what advice, because we said, listen, you must answer the question, no matter what they ask, you must answer one question, and that's, what advice do you wish that somebody had given you as a young leader, as a junior in high school? So that question was the only one that was pre-canned for them. And of course, you get 3 very different sorts of experiences that these folks have had and dealt with. And I think the kids were able to relate to that, and it gave them just another basis of knowledge.
That's awesome. I happened to be there for that, and it was quite a good conversation between the students and the leaders. It was an interesting one. tell us about Pechacuchas.
Pechacuchas. Pechacuchas are, it is basically a way to do a presentation. And we've all seen, like, these slides are good slides, right? And Cassidy and I worked on these slides. I did a bad job and Cassidy fixed them. Right? Mine were like a fifth grader did the slides and Cassidy made them look good like this. But there's a way to do a presentation that conveys information and it's not distracting. And we've all seen those slides where it's, oh my God, there's information overload and you're trying to read it and you take pictures of it and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to look at this later. Pechacucha avoids all that. The slides are simply a prompt or a reinforcement of what the speaker is talking about. And you can only spend 20 seconds on a slide and it goes very fast. And we have one that we're going to play for you. So, there's the lead up. This is one of our kids doing this year, one of the ones that just finished in December. And this was his, they have to do this. They talk about their leadership journey over the junior and senior year. This is his recap of his leadership journey during that time. And it's going to start any second.
Yes, it is. Come on. Oops. I'm not sure why it's not going. We're going to show it.
Yeah, and this is a kid who wouldn't say anything his first couple of meetings. So you can see a transformation that has occurred with this.
Well, of course, Chris, it worked earlier today, and I'm not sure why it's not working right now. Let's talk about the future of Lead Colorado, and I will work on the video because the video is the kind of the best part. Hold on.
Sounds good. Did we miss? I feel like we missed a slide, the grit and resilience slide, or did we pull that one out?
We did miss that one, and I don't know if it was pulled out because I have the slideshow up. So it's possible it was, and I can check that one as well.
That's all right. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Is that we had Aaron Roof, who you guys know, and Floyd Pierce. Floyd Pierce, you don't know, but he was on The Amazing Race. Oh, there it is. I see it in there, right underneath Joe. Okay, so you guys know Aaron, and he spoke a little bit about his time in the Special Forces and what happened. And then the other picture of is Floyd with his partner, Becca, and they were on The Amazing Race twice. And they didn't win. They made it to like the final 5. But The Amazing Race is a reality TV show where they have to do challenges all around the world, and it's exhausting. It is a tough thing. So they talked about their grit and resilience building that allowed them to survive these experiences and the value of it, because we find that resilience, studies have shown, right? When you don't have the study in front of you, you say studies have shown. But studies have shown that resilience is a key attribute towards emotional intelligence and kids being able, and leaders being able to be strong leaders. So with that being said, these guys talked about what helped them build themselves towards that grit and resilience in their lives. So let's see if we can get this Pechacucha going now. All right, the best part of our presentation. So
I know it, man. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Going.
So we'll email it to all of you. You can open it up. We'll put it on the rib or something. But this kid, this is when we do send it to you, watch it. It's absolutely worth watching. And remember, this is a kid who had no, he just wouldn't talk, man. He didn't understand the value that he had, that he could bring forward. And the transformation over the year was unbelievable. So let's talk about the what's next. Right now, we're recruiting for the next cohort. And I would love it if all of you that knows any kids from BVSD or St. Vrain from this area that are sophomores, please have them go and apply for this program, because it is a master class in leadership that's unbelievable for them. Also, we'd love to recruit 3 more people to this committee to help grow this, because next year we're also recruiting for Thompson and Milliken, and they're going to have their own volunteers, but we're going to need some support to get them up to speed up in those 2 big school districts. So please feel free, if you're interested in joining Cassidy and I, we'd love to have you. And what's next is I've been speaking with, Chad's asking, are there other local YMCAs picking this up? I've spoken about this at a couple of our national conferences, and we do have other YMCAs that have asked for our kind of all the stuff behind it, because it's not complicated, right? I mean, we have the curriculum, modify the curriculum however you want. We have a bunch of readings that the kids do. They work over the summer. For the first time, we're having summer stuff with this group where they'll be talking with their mentors over the summer and doing little leadership projects and things, and observing and saying what did they, based on what they saw this whole year, what did they notice more over the summer. And I'm talking with a group of people, because what I think we need to do is create this from like 6th grade moving up to that sophomore year, and segmenting them into different classes, because you can't have a 6th grader with a freshman in high school. So I think 6th grade, 7th, 8th, and freshman, sophomore. I think these intros into these programs. And the Y does this a lot already with our leader in training, LIT, CIT. Our camps have an internship program. As the kids get older, we call them interns, because mom and dad who have high school age kids love that for their applications, that they did a leadership internship. So we do a lot of stuff like that with them. But this is my goal, is I've literally just started the conversation about moving this down in years.
That'll be exciting. We are sort of at the end of our program, but before I open up to the questions, I wanted to ask you, can you share a moment or two that really made you feel like this program was helping young leaders, that it was something that is worth the time and the effort that you put into it?
Well, Logan, when you see this, when you guys open this one and watch it, that'll be one for him. There was a girl from Nederland High School, who very much, I don't know if she was a foster kid. We didn't, we're loath to ask, hey, what's your exact situation? But she did not have a good home situation at all, and was very much a loner. But by the end of the program, she was taking a leadership role in the program as well as in her high school. And the high school principal at the time called us and said, oh my God, the transformation from this child has been extreme. What happened? Now, the program was this much of it. The peer group was then this much. And she was just ready, right? You know, the old saying, the teacher will appear when the student is ready. So she was ready. But every cohort, we see a handful of kids like that. They're the non-traditional leaders who this is what they need to push them over the top. And we also very much want kids to understand who they are as leaders, so they aren't peer influence leaders in high school and college, that it ruins their leadership experience and they don't do it again, where, hey, all our buddies want you to do this or that, and it sours them on leadership or taking charge of something. And that's our goal. Is we think that Boulder County raises some exceptional children, and why not give them a boost? Because these are speakers that colleges would like to have, let alone high school kids. And it's easy to get them because when you tell them that you're talking to high school kids, they sign up like this.
You should also
So-
tell them that Rotary is a great choice to speak to as well. Just saying.
Well, you know, I can flip some of them over.
So Mike is going to take it over now, and I've put the video in the day's Dropbox. It's uploading now, and in case we have an opportunity to show it. But Mike is going to do the moderation thing and talk to some of the people who have questions for you. Thank you, Chris, very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Cassidy. And thank you, Chris. And we have a number of different questions, but a short amount of time. So I'm just going to right into it. Bill Rubin, you're going to be the first person up. You've got 2 or 3 comments. They're all really good. So if you could go right ahead.
Yeah, well, you already talked about the time commitment piece, so I appreciate that. As you know, I'm really involved in the RILE program, and that's all about leadership. But I'm also working with Interact Kids in both Fairview and Boulder High. Actually, I'm more focused on Boulder High. You know, I think that we could probably get some traction with the kids if there was a presentation to them. So there needs to be some sort of outreach, I think, in that regard. And then the second piece is the RILE program. We've always struggled with what to do with folks who've gone through the RILE program, and then there's really not anything there for them. And what you're doing is a longer term project. Of course, this is more Boulder County based, and we're dealing with stuff in 3 states with kids from Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming, actually 4 states and Nebraska. So, but this is more Boulder County based, but we could probably maybe have a pipeline or at least offer options to kids who've gone through the RILA program from our community. It might be another way to do some outreach. I have lots of other things to talk to you about as well, but maybe we could do that offline. So,
Bill, let's go do lunch.
yeah, well, we're not doing lunch right now. After COVID, we could do a lunch.
Right. I've had my first shot, waiting for my second. So, you know, after that. You can-
Right.
Great. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Were you going to respond, Chris? Oh, okay. Got it. So you guys are going to do Zoom though and watch each other eat. Is that what I heard? Got it. So Bill Anderson, you've got the next question. Go ahead, sir.
Chris, thanks for coming to talk to us today. You know, I was involved in leadership stuff when I was a high schooler, and you know, between Boys State and student government and leadership camps over the summer, it seemed to be the same kind of central group of kids that was involved in all of those things. I'm wondering if, like the way news has become more diversified, this group is actually distinct from the student government kids at those schools and the kids that are going to Boys State. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, surprisingly it is. Surprisingly, we don't have the, I kind of thought when we started it that it would be, you know, football team captain and head of National Honor Society and student council president, vice president. None of those kids are in this. It's all these other non-traditional leaders, or that the school staff have said, hey, I would like you to consider going into this program. Part of it too, I saw that Gordon Gam was asking, you know, it's sometimes it might be the kids that are willing to make the unpopular choice, that they have enough strength that they're like, no, I'm going to learn this, and pardon me, and that I can stand on my own 2 feet, because we talk, if this is not outside your value set, make the unpopular decision. So it might not all, I don't think it's always the most popular kids in this program.
Okay, great. And Gordon, did he fully answer your question?
I'm just curious about the relationship of leadership training and character development. As you mentioned, Chris, about my question about whether children are taught to do what was right in spite of what might be popular. And that's just one aspect of it, but it seems like the kind of rioting that took place at the Capitol was a product of what's called crowd psychology, where people are just put aside any reason and they just do things because the crowd is behind them. And that seems to me to be important to teach young people critical thinking and to be willing to buck what the crowd is doing. I guess my main question is, how is leadership training connected with character development?
I don't think you can disconnect it. I don't think there's any way to disconnect character development and leadership training. The Y has 4 pillars of character development: caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Those are the 4 character pillars, as we call it, and we integrate that into this program because it's just our way of work. And so that, I think Gordon is also part of that values, building that values statement for them. And we put it on the back of their name cards, their value statement, each one of them. So that they have the name card when we're meeting face to face that is like Chris Coker, and on the back would be my values statement, which is also, you could say, is their character statement, what they stand for. And I know that the two are somewhat distinct, but you can't unwrap them from each other. So yes, I believe that the first step towards them not being January 6 rioters is knowing what they stand for and what their obligations to society are.
Thank you, Chris.
Great, thank you very much. And our last question goes to John and Lenakatki.
Thanks so much, Chris. This sounds like a great program, and good for you for getting it off the ground. I was interested in the application process, and is there a screening that they go through? Do they need endorsements or recommendations, or is it just simply self-selection? That's my first question. I have one more.
Okay. Well, thank you. I love this program. It's the only program that I do personally, right? My job is so busy, but this is the one that I do because it keeps me connected to program delivery and to youth, which Young Men's Christian Association, right? The Y. I should be youth. I should never forget where I came from. And there is absolutely a process. Now, we've never turned anyone away. They don't know that. They have no idea. We're like, they fill out an application. We've had them go through face-to-face interviews at times. We've had them do Zoom video interviews, and they have to get references from 2 people. So they have to jump through some hoops. We also, if they miss 2 sessions, they're out. I mean, they're done because we put a lot of work and effort and energy into this. Now, we've made exceptions like everything. I don't believe in, there's no exceptions, like zero tolerance. I don't believe in that at all. I believe that you got to deal with reality of what's going on. And so we kind of have some forbearance for kids, but we have kicked a couple of kids out over the years that just haven't shown the commitment to the program, which is a great lesson unto itself in the everyone plays, everyone wins world. When you didn't win, man, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you're out. That might be the best thing that they got out of this.
And is there a cost to the participants, Chris, or how's it funded?
No, it's funded. It's just wrapped into our budget because
so it's a Y program.
Yeah, and it's wrapped into our budget, and there's not a lot of cost to it because we don't pay any speakers. If somebody wanted a speaking fee, we'd move on to the next one. So what's the real cost? The cost is when we're meeting face-to-face, pizza for the kids, right? Pizza and salad. And we give them all a sweatshirt. Maybe the program costs $5,000-$6,000 for us to deliver. The most expensive thing is our lost opportunity cost for the 2 weekends we're up at Santa Maria. Because normally we could rent that camp out for the weekend for $20-some thousand, but no, this is mission work. This is what we're supposed to do. So we forego that revenue. So I guess you could say that's a cost, but
Sure it is. But it's good for you, Chris. It sounds like a great program. Congratulations.
Well, hey, join me if you want to join us.
That sounded like they were volunteering. That's what I heard. Okay. Well, great. Thanks, John and Lena. Chris, I thought I've got your video up here. It's a 3-minute video. I thought maybe we'd end with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. One moment.
In 3, 2, 1, go right ahead.
Thank you. 20 years later, it has finally been remastered, duplicating those Michael Jordan originally wore during the 1995 NBA playoffs. Traditional all-black mesh and a higher cut patent leather upper, a Concord Jumpman logo, stitched 45 on the back, and it's not 23. My admiration made me forget a key factor in acquiring these shoes. The price. If you don't know much about sneakers, they can go for a pretty hefty price. And as a freshman in high school, I didn't have any business trying to pay for these shoes, let alone asking my parents to drop $250 on a pair of shoes that I would grow out of soon. So I had to get on my grind. These shoes weren't going to buy themselves. I had to go around the neighborhood asking for jobs, starting my businesses like mowing lawns, renting my basketball, selling my artwork, anything that I could do to get some money. I knew that getting these shoes was simply a matter of time. The whirlwind repeats. Excitement, disappointment, determination, and satisfaction with each shoe that I buy, along with the unique business opportunity like selling 3D printed phone cases from a local library. Moreover, as I've collected more and more shoes, I've realized they have a deeper meaning than just footwear. Thunderous stomps travel through my entire house. A shock of terror slithers up my body as I realize what's causing the commotion. I stroll over to and peer through the window. The paramedics are here to take my mother to the emergency room again. I contemplate defeat. Did I really just let this happen again? Looking back on that experience is like staring at an ugly shoe. Boots with disproportionately large soles and lining, clashing colors with no unified meaning, and thin laces that don't match the style of the shoe. It's just ugly, but the difference is I can't look away from the reality that my mother had cancer. Nonetheless, ugly sneakers are still part of my assortment, along with the fashionable ones. Without the ugly shoes, how can I recognize the stylish ones or positive experiences? Every shoe has a meaning behind it, even with the tiny creases in the midsole, and recognizing this was one of the most important steps on my leadership journey. Today, I translate every episode of my life into a different shoe. The appealing shoes, unforgettable times spent laughing with friends, heartwarming moments tutoring a student to success, and countless YouTube videos watched trying to learn random skills like pen spinning are what give me inspiration, from completing homework to tackling social justice issues. Despite becoming a sneakerhead years ago, the leadership skills I acquired from this title continue to thrive in my actions today. Not only did I get to show off my new shoes at school, I also learned my values. I believe in staying honest with myself, uplifting as many people as I can, and utilizing my skills to make a change in my community. My sneaker collection or leadership journey is far from complete. However, I strive to cherish, learn from, and translate my experiences, especially the ugly ones, into sneakers or actions to create change and staying honest with myself and my community. Thank you.
Do I have a second to say one more thing, Mike?
Yes, you did. Yep, absolutely. Go ahead.
All right. We wept as a nation on January 6th, right? We were horrified as a nation, but I was not, because what I recognized is that that was an anomaly. That was the outliers. And I know that because I deal with these kids all the time. I see these children around me all the time. I do not worry about our future as a country or as a planet because of these kids that I meet in these programs. And so if you are ever feeling in the least bit hopeless, come by and see the kids that we work with all the time, and you'll understand that we're going to be fine because we have kids like that all around us.
Okay, great.
Well said.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Cassidy, you have something you'd like to say?
I was just going to say, well said, and I'm your responder, Chris. I am pleased and honored to do that because I have been involved with the program for several years now, and I wept on the night of these final projects because they were so poignant and so amazingly reflective of these wonderful young leaders going into the world. It's an amazing program. Thank you for letting me be part of it. Thank you for talking about it here at Rotary today. And of course that you know we are going to be donating 100 doses of vaccine to Polio Plus in your name and the name of Lead Colorado. And I want to be short. That's it. Thank you, Chris.
Well, Chris and Cassidy, I want to thank you. I think you've probably seen in the chat, and I can echo for most everybody that's been watching. It was a tremendous program, both the way it was presented and the substance of the program. I suspect you'll probably hear from a number of people that have been watching today about how they may be able to get involved.